This is Billy Mitchell, a known liar, bottom-of-the-barrel celebrity, and guy who peaked in high school. He sued a popular YouTuber in a case that at first seemed frivolous. Billy Mitchell has become a meme for his numerous attempts at suing his critics for being a 59-year-old loser and someone who has consistently lied about the most minuscule of life accomplishments, which makes this story so fascinating.
High scores are a serious business, and none take them more seriously than Billy Mitchell.
YouTuber Karl Jobst has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube and has covered all of Billy's frivolous lawsuits on his channel, starting with this video released August 8th, 2020, titled "The Dumbest Lawsuit in Video Game History." Over the following 5 years, Karl has made numerous videos clowning on Billy's insanely stupid tactics in the courtroom, lies in his complaints, and attempts at shutting up his critics through litigation. Billy's lawsuit appeared like another slam dunk case. One of the biggest commentary channels, Penguin Zero, commented on his expectations of the case.
When Karl wins, I don't see a world where Billy somehow squeaks out a dub here. I think when Karl wins, Karl needs to countersue. And I will do whatever it takes to make that possible. I have full faith Karl slam dunks this.
In a shock to everyone who's been following this story, Billy Mitchell actually won a judgment against Karl the other day. To add insult to injury, many of Karl's supporters feel duped and lied to about this case. Hugely annoyed that Karl Jobst misled everyone on what this trial was actually about, I was shocked when I saw the verdict because I was under the impression it was about the cheating scandals, which would have been insane if he lost. I've been sued for defamation 3 separate times, winning all 3, so I know a thing or two about cases like this. It wouldn't be a proper Billy Mitchell story without a hilarious news title. Moist Critical claims his farts were evidence in Billy Mitchell vs. Karl Jobst court case.
The madman finally did it. On the 13th of September 2021, the speedrunner Karl Jobst achieved this lawsuit. Until now, Billy Mitchell had only made threats about suing me, but he finally pulled the trigger and has made it official by filing a complaint in the District Court of Queensland, which is the state in which I live.
This was not a large defamation case, as Billy was claiming only $450,000 in damages and attorney's costs. For reference, I covered Cardi B's defamation case victory over YouTuber Tasha K that resulted in a $4 million judgment. $450,000 is still a lot of money, especially when factoring in legal costs to reach the verdict. Quick backstory on Billy Mitchell. The setting is Twin Galaxies in Ottumwa, Iowa. Donkey Kong is one of the more popular arcade games. Many aspiring world record holders compete to beat the world record. If you want to see the Michael Jordan of gaming, it's Billy, one-time record holder Steve Sanders says. Billy ultimately held the world record Donkey Kong score for a couple decades. If you're not familiar with this story, then I promise you're going to find this amusing. Yes, this story centers around a dude worried about his Donkey Kong arcade game score from 30 years ago. Something that was true 30 years ago that is still true today is that Billy is a pathological liar regarding his accomplishments. Billy's entire reputation and celebrity within the gaming community was built on his unbelievable world record score on Donkey Kong, but it was later found out that he had cheated. Billy was featured in a popular movie titled The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters that maintains an IMDb rating of 8.0, and the synopsis is diehard gamers compete to break world records on classic arcade games. In addition to his record-breaking Donkey Kong score, Billy allegedly beat Pac-Man with a perfect score. This guy isn't just Michael Jordan, he's also Canelo Alvarez knocking out his competition. But that all came crashing down when he was exposed as a cheater and his records were taken away in 2017, decades after he allegedly earned the high score. Twin Galaxies, the Iowa gaming institution that tracks these kinds of records, said that they had collected enough evidence to determine that Mitchell cheated in his winning Donkey Kong scores. This story was relevant enough to even get the attention of Sports Illustrated, which reported that he was banned from competition. YouTubers like Karl Jobst, who report on the video game industry, of course had a field day with this story. What didn't help Billy's case is that he continually gave them content. Instead of accepting the fact that he was caught as a fraudster, Billy kept doubling down. Frivolous lawsuits no doubt take a toll on your financial and mental health. Thanks to today's sponsor, BetterHelp, we can all have access to a therapist who can provide us with helpful, unbiased advice if our mental health is suffering. I went to therapy a couple years ago when I really needed it and would recommend others doing the same. An estimated more than 1 in 5 US adults experienced mental health challenges in 2021, which totals nearly 60 million people. In response to this, BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to be a support system while you're in need. If you find yourself struggling with mental health, it's okay to admit it to yourself and seek out solutions. And hiring a pro is usually the best way to solve problems. The therapist they pick for you will have tons of experience dealing with whatever you're going through. Every single one of their therapists is licensed, has a master's or doctorate degree, and has spent over 3 years and 1,000 hours working with people just like you. And if you need to switch therapists for whatever reason, BetterHelp makes it easy to switch with no cost or worry. If you think therapy is for you, you can join the over 4 million people who have used BetterHelp. Use my link betterhelp.com/Spencer Cornelia or choose Spencer Cornelia during sign up for a special discount off your first month of therapy. To give you an idea on how litigious this guy is, he sued the Cartoon Network for a segment they included in a show that had a character resembling Billy Mitchell, but not using the same name. Billy also sued Twin Galaxies for defamation. Karl created this screenshot highlighting Billy's previous 10 lawsuits, with 9 of them resulting in an easy dismissal or settlement. The 10th lawsuit, that appeared frivolous, resulted in a Billy win, so let's look at why that happened. A relevant third party to this case, named Benjamin Smith, was a YouTuber with the name Apollo Legend. Ben made a critical video about Billy following the news that Billy cheated to earn the high scores. Billy, doing what Billy often does, sued Benjamin for defamation. These two settled a couple years later in August 2020. No money was exchanged, no judgment was earned, and Ben agreed to take down his critical videos of Billy, a clean settlement. Apollo Legend wrote this post to his community declaring the issue as settled. 4 months later, on December 20th, 2020, Ben posted this video to his channel where he explains the mental pain he's experienced in his life. At no point does he mention the lawsuit with Billy. Here's a relevant statement.
This doesn't have to do with anyone really, except for me. So there's really nothing I can say except I'm sorry and thank you for everything you've done for me. My mind and body are broken. I'm constantly in pain in several different ways. I'm completely dysfunctional and it's getting worse. I just can't do it. I'm out. I can't.
He unfortunately took his own life shortly after. The reason this is very relevant is this video is at the center of the defamation case. Turns out, no, the lawsuit was not about that, and instead was about whether or not Mitchell was the cause of Apollo Legend taking his own life, as Karl Jobst tried to claim. That's really not a good look from Karl. What on earth was he thinking?
He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell.
It appears that Karl has cut some of the video as the original statement can't be heard. Essentially, the complaint was filed by Billy Mitchell because he believed Karl's words implied that Billy was the reason for Apollo Legend ending his life. Without clear evidence, that's a pretty defamatory accusation.
Without a single source except a now deleted post on Reddit. Now deleted post was his only source where he blamed me for taking the life of another human being and for what I did to him. And I said, that's it.
Because this case had gone on for multiple years, the costs were getting exorbitant for Karl. He started a GoFundMe that raised over 200,000 Australian dollars. On the GoFundMe page, he claims to have spent almost $200,000 at the time of the post, and it will cost another $100,000 before it's over. By May 31, 2024, Karl claims to have spent even more.
The most important thing to realize is that this lawsuit, including trial, will have cost me around $500,000.
The element to this story that I find most interesting is that many within Karl's audience thought that the complaint Billy filed was entirely about Karl calling him a cheater and evil.
The man is trying to ruin lives, and I'm now of the opinion he is legitimately evil, and hopefully something can be done to stop him soon.
He was asking for donations in those videos for the trial, so they were paying for his legal fees while misleading his audience that it's about Billy's cheating when it was actually about defamation that Billy caused Apollo ending his life. To defend Karl, I do need to show you a clip I found. It's referencing Billy talking about the reason for suing Karl regarding accusing him of being the reason for someone taking their life.
I won't go into specifics about this particular point because it does relate to his ongoing lawsuit against me. But again, everything he just said is a lie. I didn't say what he claims that I said, and my source for what I did say was not just a deleted post on Reddit. Billy knows all of my sources because I gave them to him as part of the proceeding.
Karl's made over 25 videos about Billy, so his audience spotting this one segment is unlikely, but I do feel it's fair to point out that he did talk about it at least once. I watched plenty of Karl's videos both about this case and just in general, and always was under the impression this lawsuit was about Billy Mitchell suing Karl for exposing that Billy is a total cheat and fraud. This is the first time I'm reading that the lawsuit is about something completely different. Lost entire trust in Karl now. Both him and Mitchell are lying scumbags. I think Karl's biggest PR mistake was not making this element more known in the case. A lot of his fans feel like he raised money without this key point known, which may have changed their donating behavior had they known that what he said was defamatory and false. Although he had the previous reputations alleged by Mr. Jobst, and the defamatory video raised other substantially true contextual imputations about him, Mr. Mitchell suffered substantially more personal and reputational harm as a consequence of Mr. Jobst's imputations about which Mr. Mitchell complains. A mistake that Karl and nearly everyone else makes is that there's an attribute everyone has called reputation that's either good or bad. Because Billy is a known cheater, within the video game world context, his reputation may be considered bad. But that doesn't mean you can't damage his reputation in other areas of life. As an example, Billy appears to run a hot sauce brand. You can't falsely claim that eating his hot sauce will give you cancer or something, and I don't have to worry about damaging his reputation because it's already bad. That's not exactly how it works. You can have a reputation in many different contexts. And this is the essence of why Karl lost. He assumed that Billy's bad reputation in the video game world meant that any statements made about Billy couldn't possibly harm his reputation even more.
He is a cheater. He is a person of poor character and has had a horrible reputation for many, many years, all because of his own behavior and his own actions.
Everyone likes using the word reputation as a blanket term, as if a person can only have one reputation with zero need for additional context. Billy won this case because his reputation outside of the video game was harmed. And here's Karl making a statement proving to me he doesn't understand the difference.
One of them is to say that Billy didn't have a good reputation to begin with, so it's not possible that it caused him any damage.
Billy's team put comments into evidence as seen in this image here. They alleged that nearly 400 comments allude to Billy being the reason for Apollo Legends incident. This was pretty crucial evidence, as Billy needed to show that his reputation was harmed, and many people were influenced into thinking the defamatory claims were true. The next most crucial element of a defamation case is for the plaintiff to be able to prove they were financially damaged from the defamatory claims. The first instance was John Weeks canceling a $50,000 speaking engagement for Billy at an auction for pinball machines and arcade games. I apologize for our decision to withdraw our agreement with you to host you at our auction due to the allegations from Karl Jobst that you played a significant role in Apollo Legends' decision to take his own life. We made the decision strictly for business reasons, and I do not feel personal discontent with you, but the negativity brought by the claims presented too large a risk to us strictly from a business perspective. This is where I realized Billy had a very strong case. Billy also claims to have lost another appearance deal because of the videos. Due to the toxicity and negativity brought by Karl Jobst's claim that you played a role in Apollo Legends' decision to take his own life, Old School Gamer magazine feels compelled to withdraw its $5,000 per weekend paid appearance offer also for the Midwest Gaming Classic. Regardless of what you think about Billy, losing business deals because an obsessed YouTuber made defamatory remarks about you isn't cool, and I bet you would be calling a lawyer too. That's $65,000 in lost business just from the two people he emailed. He could have also experienced opportunity losses that he wasn't even aware of. The withdrawal and reduction of invitations to appear at such events is clear evidence of damage to Mr. Mitchell's reputation as a consequence of the video. So too is the evidence of the substantial number of adverse comments published online about him, referring to as having caused or contributed to Apollo Legends' death, both shortly after the video was published and in the years since then. I really hope a lot of you are beginning to understand that defamation lawsuits aren't inherently frivolous like everyone seems to think. So many YouTubers commit defamation every day and are lucky to avoid litigation. A really important element of a defamation case is what steps a defendant took to find out if the alleged defamatory statement was true or false. In depositions, you're going to be asked where you generated the idea to make the claims you did. I'll give you an example. Most of my videos now involve lawsuits for a reason. I can point to the lawsuit filing and claim that as my source, or I can use quotes from reputable news outlets as my source for any claims. I can't just call someone a fraudster or claiming they're likely heading to prison because I want to be funny. There needs to be something behind the claims, and a plaintiff's attorney is going to dig. In this case, Karl made a pretty bold claim, and his source was an anonymous post on Reddit. This may be shocking to some of you, but Reddit comments aren't seen as reliable sources for making accusations about someone's character.
I have concluded that there should be judgment for Mr. Mitchell in the sum of $300,000 for non-economic loss and $50,000 in aggravated damages.
Since reputation doesn't really have a clear market value, it was up to the judge to determine the amount. This case was super interesting to me, as I see YouTubers say defamatory statements all the time and never face repercussions. But the Tasha K and Karl defamation losses should serve as a warning to critical commentary channels who love making false accusations about people. Karl is facing a real PR issue now because all the people who gave him money in his GoFundMe really wanted to see him take down Billy Mitchell and stop that evil man. But this judgment means that all of their money actually ended up in Billy's pocket, so they essentially paid Billy's attorney's fees throughout this case despite actively rooting against them. I enjoyed talking about